Hello, and welcome to Tea and Cornbread, a conversation with Sean and Tracy. I am Sean,
And I'm Tracy.
and we are talking to you all that are 50 and fabulous.
And don't forget handsome.
And we want you to know that we want to get some education happening,
Yes.
some empowerment.
We want to grow with you. We want to learn with you. We want to see what you're doing, 50 and over.
So like, share, comment, follow, subscribe,
Grab your
and
tea.
grab your tea.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy day, people.
How's it going?
We have a special guest today. First, you are talking with Tea and Cornbread with Sean and Tracy. My co-host Sean is not here with me today, but I have a special guest. I have Mr.
Yeah, Kyle, Eric. How's
There
it
you
going?
go.
Yeah.
Little things that people probably don't know is Kyle is our producer. He's usually behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So today we just, I had a conversation that I wanted to have, but it really wasn't a conversation that I could have by myself as Kyle and I were talking about it and what I would be talking about. I said, wow, as we're sitting here, we're discussing what the topic is today.
Yep.
I need a second person. Guess who it's going to be if you are willing? As always,
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
my guy is here. So Kyle, what you do this weekend?
Actually, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. Shout out to my grandmother. Shout out to mom.
Oh,
she
yes, the
celebrated her
party.
80th.
Yeah.
Her 80th year. Her
Mhm.
80th birthday.
Blessing. That's a blessing.
It got postponed originally because of weather.
Yes.
But then everybody came out for the following week, and we just partied.
Had a
down.
good time, right?
Yeah, it was great. Shout out to
Awesome.
the Cape Verdean Club. Shout out to the family. Everybody that came. Everybody who wanted to come. Shout out to. We did a Zoom call during the festivities. Mom and Shy
Okay.
set up a Zoom call.
Nice. So they could
And-
be there. Yes.
Yeah, and shout out to Ron Hill of Ron Hill Media. He was helping me set up everything, and it was just we had a ball. We
Nice.
had a ball.
I'm glad to hear that. I missed that one, but sometimes we have a lot of things going on, but really don't have a lot of things going on, if you know what I mean.
Life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome to hear that. I'm trying to think. What did I do yesterday? I do this every weekend. Yesterday I did this. I went to the gym, and then I went out with one of my sister friends to
Nice.
dinner. So that kind of leads into our topic of what we're talking about today.
Yep.
One of the things that I was saying to Kyle on the way over here is how do we handle, it's kind of a two-part subject, being your own best friend. How do we handle being our own best friend at the end of the day? We talk a lot about self-care, about taking care of self, our rituals that we get up and we do in the morning. But beyond that, what does it look like for you? Relationship-wise, personal level, and as we were talking, and this is what led me to bring Kyle on, I needed a different not that I needed a different perspective, but I did need a different perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a two-party conversation.
Yeah.
We started talking about it, like I said, last night when I was out with my little sister, and I had said to her, would you go out? Well, what happened was when she got out the car, I said, hey, if you didn't show up, I was going in by myself.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and said, no, you wouldn't. And I said, yes, I would. And as I thought about it, I've done it before.
Yeah.
Years ago, I went to the movies by myself and I went to dinner by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling one of my girlfriends that, and she thought it was the weirdest thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
And I felt some kind of way about it when she kind of laughed at me and said, why would you do that? That's weird. And
That's weird?
That's weird. Those were her exact words. But after she said it, and I kind of said, well, to her it was weird. And she's that's her opinion. She's welcome to it.
Yeah.
So that, I think people may be afraid to do that, I guess.
I think, to me, it's number one. It's a personality type. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For example, for me, I've always had like self-confidence issues. Right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So one day I actually had a talk with someone, and they determined my personality type was like, if you broke down the number, percentage, it was 50-50. Like I can be introverted and extroverted, and vice versa. So for me, I like being around people, but I do have a limit. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
I
I can understand that.
I love being around my friends and family, but I don't constantly need to be around that kind of stimuli. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there are
Right.
days where I just want to be by myself.
And
There,
that's okay.
there are days I want to be by myself. I've taken myself out to dinner. I've taken myself out to the movies.
How did you feel about it though? Were you like you say, you're not a person that is like I'll say something. Your mom
Yeah.
could walk into a room and it's, hey
Yeah.
everybody, how you doing?
Yep.
I get what you're saying because I'm the opposite, just like you. I walk in a room and just say, hey, how you doing, and go stand in my corner.
Oh, I will walk in a room, and if I know, if I know enough people there, then I get comfortable enough to want to go and mingle.
Yeah.
See, I've been taught that when you go into a room, you talk to people, but I also know that there's you greet people, you treat people well.
Definitely, when you walk
But-
in a room, you
But
you
there,
know,
but there's
speak and-
also the opposite side of that. There's also the opposite side of that too. Like I've been to parties that I've been personally invited to, and I barely knew anybody there.
okay.
So once I got there, my energy kind of went from, okay, I'm ready to go party, because it was a birthday party for one of my friends I was working with, who I happened to know from like way back.
Okay.
Right? So I get to the party, and I realize, oh my God, everybody else is, everybody else is like dressed in button down shirts, and here I am in a hoodie, and I'm just analyzing the situation. Next thing you know, my heart starts to go, my anxiety starts to go up, because I realize I barely know anybody in here.
But how'd you feel though? Did I understand what you went through. That anxiety set in, your heart
Yeah.
start palpitating. But once you realized, like you just said, everybody else was dressed formal.
Not formal. It was like
Semi-formal,
Like they were wearing like, some people were wearing dresses, some people were wearing button-down shirts and jeans.
And you
But
had your
then-
hoodie on.
and I had my hoodie and my hat on. But once I saw other people with like more casual clothes on, and I found out that we did know each other in some way,
Okay.
I became more comfortable.
You felt, that's what I was gonna say. Did you
You know?
did you get to the point where you felt comfortable even
Yeah.
to say, okay, even though I'm not dressed like everybody else,
Yeah.
I am okay in this room.
Yeah.
Sometimes we put so much weight on ourselves that we don't know how to take care of ourselves.
And I think that's a societal thing.
Yeah.
That is a societal thing, but it also depends on where you live. Like, I didn't know that this particular party was going to have that kind of dress code. He just offered me an invitation because we worked together, and plus we were friends.
Right.
So I didn't know. My biggest thing was, I just want to get there on time. So I got there about a half hour early, right? I got there about a half hour early. I realized that some people were dressed a certain way, and here I am in a hoodie and jeans. Once the party started going, and then people started showing up, I was like, "Yo, how
Yeah.
how you doing?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and he introduced me to his then girlfriend. Now they've been together for a long time.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So
Nice.
once he started introducing me to people, and because we didn't really hang out outside of work. You know what I'm saying? So when I got to actually meet his people, it started to become a lot more comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we have to remember to pay attention to self. We always
Yeah.
forget, like you said, when you walked in a room, you scanned the room, and the first thing that I'm not going to speak for you, the first thing that pops in someone's head is, do I fit in? How does everybody else look compared to me? And we need to stop doing that and remember, at that moment, you were the most important thing that walked in the room.
My thing was, the older I get, the less I start to care about how other people perceive me.
Yes.
Because
I agree with that.
Because unfortunately, that's also kind of been, I feel like that may be a human nature thing, or it could be a societal thing. I don't know. Personally, the the older I get, the less I care because I know myself.
Right.
You know,
Right.
my journey has been one of learning about yourself because I was too busy at one point wondering what other people thought of me, but not because of my clothes, not because of my not because of my my voice or how I carried myself. It was because of my walk.
Okay.
Two things that people would constantly get at me for as I was growing up was the way I walked and the way I spoke.
What do you mean get at you? You mean people, your peers,
They
people
would-
of your
yeah.
age?
And yeah,
Well,
they-
children can be cruel. We know
Yeah,
that.
but then
unfortunately.
But I also learned that adults can be just as bad.
No,
They-
I agree.
they-
I do agree.
And that was the unfortunate thing because they were the ones that acted like they were protecting me, but really it was more along the lines of pity is worse.
Yeah.
Pity can be just as bad or worse than just overly protecting someone.
Yeah.
Because you're not really seeing them for them or letting them see
grow
themselves.
and learn.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
No, I totally agree with that. And that's why, too, a lot of times, even with children and grandchildren, on that same perspective as you have to let the children be independent and do their own thing.
Yeah.
Certain things people want to, as simple as making a bowl of cereal. As adults, we want to do it. But my reasoning for doing it and then realizing I shouldn't be, my reasoning was, I didn't want them to make a mess. Then I had to come to realize it's not that big of a mess. Even if
No.
they make a mess, they're attempting to learn, to grow, to be independent.
That's it.
Once you instill that in them, I think, too, that comes to, back to the topic of being your own best friend. Because
Yeah.
the most important person is you. And we talk about that all the time. You can't take care of anybody else if you can't take care
Take
of
care of
you.
yourself first.
Yes.
But that wasn't taught to a lot of us off the bat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Some of us, for example, your generation into my generation was taught that once you get to a certain age, you should already know certain things, right? Like by the time I was, 12 or 13, that's when I really started watching myself. I was a latchkey kid.
Right.
So once that happened and we no longer needed a babysitter
I
or
think
whatever.
we were younger, but anyway.
Yeah, y'all were younger.
We were younger.
My thing was, and thank you because you're part of the village. We always had babysitters most of the time. When me and my sister were growing up, we always had babysitters, but it was always somebody we knew. It was our
Right.
cousin. It was one of my mom's trusted best friends, like one of my
Exactly.
aunts, or
Exactly.
things like that. And then when she gave me my first key, right, that was my first real taste of independence. But they gave me the key, but they were like, don't open the door for anybody,
Right.
and don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
But they didn't say, unless it's me, right?
Yes.
So I would wait for the answering machine to come on, and they'd be like, "Yo, Kyle,
Pick up the
pick up the
phone."
phone," right? And sometimes I'm
Yes.
like, "Is that
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes you have to be told because other times you're not gonna know.
You don't know what the next step is.
You don't know what the next step is gonna be.
I totally agree with that. And I think, too, I see a lot of young kids now being very independent. And I'll speak about my grandchildren. They're very independent. Growing up, the word, being fresh or grown, I don't take it the same way as I take it today because the children today are very smart.
Yeah.
Very intelligent, and I don't take it as sometimes, don't get me wrong. Everybody's going to have those little bump in the roads where kids are going to say something out of pocket and you have to get them back on track.
Yeah.
But a lot of times these kids are very well educated, very well spoken, and we need to pay attention to that and horn in on that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we miss that opportunity. I don't like when people call kids bad in their face because sometimes kids wear that hat. Because they when you tell a kid all the time that they're bad, or you're, like you said, growing up, they made you feel, adults even made you feel a certain way about your walk, about your talk. You feed into that because you become that. If you don't reinforce, Kyle, you're doing great. Kyle, the way you talk, there's nothing wrong. Your conversation with me is awesome. If you don't reinforce that, how do you grow? How do you learn from that?
Yeah.
So we have to pay attention to, and me and Sean did a segment before about words, how we speak.
Words,
The
words have power.
words are power at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Definitely check that out. Definitely check that out on their YouTube channel, and on Spotify. It's very much a like that episode. I remember said a lot.
Yeah.
Because words do have power.
Words have power.
What you put out there is what you're gonna get. So
Exactly.
if you constantly put out negative energy,
yes.
just the negative, and if you're constantly trying to drive that into somebody's head, because we will now they say kids are sponges.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stop learning until your day comes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You don't stop learning until your day comes. Yes, kids are sponges because they're starting from they're starting from the beginning. But the older we get, and the more we realize, we realize certain things about the world. It doesn't matter your age.
Not at all.
It's more of the question is, are you open to receive the information?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's not about your age. Like for example, I was talking with one of my best friends about this very topic. Now, I'm an editor. I have been professionally for the past 3 years, right? And sometimes my clients are a little older and not as tech savvy. And I'm not saying I'm not at all
No,
saying I'm
I
that,
get that.
but my point is, when they ask me, okay, so how do we do this on the computer? To me, it sounds basic.
Right.
Right? To me, it sounds basic. I don't always take into account the fact that I grew up with this stuff.
Right.
I grew up with
Right.
this stuff. It became part of my life from the time I was a preteen. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to take that into account. But sometimes I run into people who are my age who are not tech savvy at all, and they do not care to be. And my best friend who works on computers and stuff for a living, he said to me, it's not about age. You're stuck on age, okay? Because my thing was, I didn't like telling people what to do. It's like, but dude, he's like, man, you're stuck on age. It's not about age. It's about whether they are willing to listen to it and learn from what you're about. Because I know 70-some-year-olds with tablets that do everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it has nothing to do with your age. But I was still stuck on the age thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And you say that because I hear what you're saying, because I'm one of those people. And, I text you last week and said, hey, Kyle, I'm trying to share on whatever platform our next, and you said, call me. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid to call you and say, hey, help me with this. We've had these conversations plenty of times. Yeah.
And because you've been doing this podcast with Mom for a while now, and I remember when you first started, just like Ma, you were,
I had no platforms.
You had no platforms.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, should I do this on Facebook? Should I do this on
Right.
I'm like, look, whatever y'all already have, whatever you're comfortable with, do that.
Right.
If you're not comfortable going on every platform, because it's number one, it's overwhelming, and a lot of it can be very annoying. I just got off Twitter for that same reason. But, you do what you're comfortable with.
What you're comfortable with. And
You know?
and I think that's basically what our conversation today is about: taking care of yourself and being your own best friend. If it just, casual in life, your personal life, business, that too, because if I wake up every day and I go into a job and I'm not doing what's best for me and trying to satisfy everybody else, again, I'm not taking care of self.
No.
We talked about earlier, our conversation started off about would you date yourself? And I say yes to that because I say yes to that for two reasons, I guess. Because I've done it, one, and two, because I am single. And right now I have no choice. So I have to have enough confidence, like you said, too.
Yep.
You have to have enough confidence to want to walk into a busy restaurant and sit by yourself.
Order something, order yourself something, your favorite, get yourself,
Yes.
and just chill out.
And just chill out.
And just take in the atmosphere. Now, I was single for a while. I've been in a relationship now for about 4 months,
Okay.
right? And what I discovered about my partner is we're both kind of introverted. So when we talk to each other, it's not a constant barrage of texting or anything like that. But
Okay.
when we do miss each other, it's, it's like emojis or memes or something to make you laugh, right? We will give each other, we talked, we like giving, having our space. Plus, she's also a creative. So sometimes she'll be working on a project or something, or getting something ready for whatever her next thing is.
Yes.
Or sometimes she's just chilling watching TV, but we're still thinking about each other. It's
Right.
not. It's not a hey babe, like not like constant like babe, I miss
You
you.
give
right?
each other space.
We give each other space, and then because we do have times that we do talk, we do talk to each other, like constantly, especially like right before we go to bed. But we like to, we like to give each other opportunity to miss each other.
Got you.
And have things to talk about. Now, when we see each other, right? When we see each other now, especially since it's early in the relationship, there will be times where we'll be like just cuddling or right next to each other
Yes.
in silence, and
And that's fine.
we'll just listen to music, vibe out, talk about the song,
Yep.
talk about what
Whatever
what we're watching.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Now, I have a question though, Kyle.
Yeah.
I would you date yourself? Meaning, you're in a relationship, so this
Yeah.
is a good question for you. Would you take yourself out to dinner
I've-
without your girlfriend, even though you're in a relationship? Would you go to the movies by yourself?
By myself.
Being in a relationship,
being
does
a-
that make a difference? I'm trying to figure out if that makes a difference, because I'm saying it because I'm single, and right now
Right.
that's my choice. If I
Now-
want to,
Now, a lot of times, like before I got into a relationship, because I've been single, I was single for like years, for like like 11, almost 12 years.
Okay.
Before. So I have gone out and taken myself to the movies, and I've watched a bunch of movies on the big screen by myself, right? And I've gone out to dinner more than a few times by myself. And I used to joke, I was like, you know what? I dated myself, and I realized I'm kind of picky. Like I've dated myself because you're just trying to get to know, you're trying to get to know you.
Yeah.
Just like, mom would tell me all the time, don't make anyone responsible for your own happiness.
Yes.
So my thing is,
Yes.
I wanted somebody to enhance the happiness I already had, and me enhance theirs. So it's not so yes, would I go out just by myself and and do stuff? Sure. If I wanted to, sure. I would just I would let them know that I left the house just in case.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would.
I think that, and the reason I question that with you, only because you are in a relationship,
Yeah.
and I don't know if being in a relationship with somebody, and I mean, going back, I'm just thinking, when I was in a relationship, I did a lot of things independently,
Yeah.
but I didn't give it a second thought. I didn't need, there weren't things that needed a partner or needed my husband, to do those things with. And we do those daily, but I'm saying that to say, when you're in a relationship, is it okay? It's not even, is it okay? Because it's not a thing that you need
I don't
permission
think-
for.
No, it's not something you need.
So I
permission
think
for.
it's okay to do that. I think I just fall back to where I did it years ago. My girlfriend said she thought it was weird. I even said to her, well, when you go to the movies, you're sitting independently anyway. You're not really conversating with the person next to you about the movie. So what's the big deal?
It's very much a like. I think because like I said, I think it's a personality thing. I really do. Some people want to just be around people. Others, they feel like certain activities you can only do, or they
With
only
somebody?
feel like they can only do it with somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay, another example. Last night, I had friends over, right? I had friends over. I'm with someone. My other friend is with someone. We've been best friends since middle school,
Okay.
right? And she did not bring her boyfriend with her, but she was on the phone with him from time to time. But the reason she did not bring her boyfriend with her, even though I've met the guy, we've hung out before, really nice dude, he decided to stay home.
Okay.
That's it. He just decided to stay home. So knowing that they have, and they've been together for almost 2 decades. So knowing that they have, number one, the trust. He knows that nothing's gonna happen at my place.
Right.
There ain't nothing crazy gonna happen. We're just friends, and our other friends are just friends. We have that kind of dynamic. We have a brother sister dynamic, and that's been cultivated over years.
The years of your
You know,
friendship. Yeah.
we've never had romantic feelings for each other. We've never even entertained that. We treat each other like brother and sister. We're even protective of each other,
Yes.
like a brother and sister. Now, I also have had the opposite, you know. But the point is, it's trust
It's
and
trust.
communication.
So, two of the biggest things going into relationships, and I think our conversation today has been about self, and it kind of intertwined into relationships, which is good. But two of the biggest things for anybody, I would let me speak for myself, is honesty and communication.
Honesty and communication.
Because once those two things break down, what do you have? And then I feel as an adult, what do you got to lie to me about?
Like-
and I say that even if you're being sneaky or you're doing something, and don't lie, because at the end of the day, it's going to hurt if you tell me up front, and it's going to hurt if I find out through another avenue. So
Yeah.
let's just be honest and communicate. We would just be in such a better state.
Yeah, but you also got to be honest. You got to also be willing to be honest with yourself too. Like,
Again, back to being your own best friend.
Back to being your own best friend. Like, do you really know you? Like, the reason why I was comfortable enough to be in a relationship now, as now a 36 going on 37-year-old, as opposed to where I was just a couple of years ago, right? I had to stop and realize, like, a couple of years ago, I tried to go out with someone that was a friend of mine, right? And it did not work out. Now, we were never exclusive. She was 100% with me.
Okay.
I will say this. Yes, it didn't work out like I thought it was going to. We never ended up being in a relationship. She told me straight up that she had other people that she was seeing.
Okay.
She told me that straight up. She also told me that she was very surprised about how I treated her. Right? She was very surprised about how I treated her because I was
Past relationships, or
I guess that would be my guess.
so you were being a gentleman on a different level than what she was used to seeing.
Exactly. So it was the way I was taught to treat
Right.
people.
Open up those doors.
Yeah, and it's not even just the fact that she was a woman. My thing is, I open doors up for everybody.
Okay.
So my thing is, I open doors up for everybody. I've gotten compliments from both men and women of different ages. Because my thing is, look, sometimes people just want to be acknowledged, and sometimes they just need a little bit of help. You know what I'm saying? Just like people helped, just like people helped me, I just want to give something back. Now, before with my friend I was trying this with, she also, like I said, she was 100% honest with me,
Okay.
and it just did not. It did not turn into what I thought it was going to turn into at the
Right.
time. So I ended up taking a 2-year break. The pandemic helped in my case, because I sat down with myself. I sat down with myself and thought to myself, what do I want
you
for
want?
me before
Allow somebody else to come into your space.
Exactly. And then unexpectedly, I met the person I'm with now.
Okay.
Both of us were on that same path, you know?
Nice.
And,
Nice.
now it's like, we talk about that all the time, the sense of self, the knowing of self before you, because I'm not trying to rely on someone else for the stuff that I need, and I don't want them to 100% rely on me either.
When you say that, you mean relationship wise. You're not depending on somebody else.
I am not. No.
Right.
I am not. I've come a long way.
Okay.
Being just trying to be independent, but at the same time, I just want someone to be comfortable with me and want to be vulnerable with me, and me be vulnerable with them.
And that's awesome.
And
that's
that's
awesome.
And that's the thing. Some people, some people my age or younger may think different, may think
Right.
differently,
It's,
and that's
it's
and that-
individual, whatever
it's
works for you.
It's an individual thing, and I've had these conversations with men before. A couple of them, they come from different walks of life.
Yes.
A few of them are either married or engaged,
Okay.
and I am, and I am not. Now I'm no longer single, but
You're in a
I'm
serious
I'm in a
relationship.
serious relationship with
Right.
someone who also is serious about what they want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Your intentions between each other are clear.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you are keeping Kyle number one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We talk about relationships. We talk about self-care. We talk about a plethora of things.
Yep.
This was, totally an awesome conversation to have with you, to get your perspective. You are my son. So to, listen to watch you grow is a wonderful thing at the end of the day. But at the same time, I think talking with you, it enlightens me as to what's going on. I don't know everything. You think, you're going to look at me and think, oh, you were in a relationship, you've been married, you have kids, you have grandkids. I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. So just like you said earlier, we are learning and growing each and every day. We just have to be open to it.
We have to be open to it. It has nothing to do with age.
Nothing.
I've talked to people who thought that they'd be at a different place in life by age, whatever. And I asked them politely. I asked them, but do you see what you're doing now? Do you see what you're doing now? We're so preoccupied with putting limits on ourselves. Like, I want to be, like, some people are like, oh, I thought I'd be married by
Right.
age 20 something, have kids by
Yes.
age 20 something,
Have that house
have
and
that
that car,
house,
whatever.
go to
Right.
be out of school by. Some people are going to school now.
Yeah.
Some people are getting their degrees now. Some are on a totally different
path than they-
Some
yes.
ended up having kids in their 40s. Like, I
Yes.
know some people that didn't think they'd ever have kids, and next thing you know, they turn 40 something. They're happy, kids,
Yes.
husband and or wife or whatever, and it's not about, and I get that there's also things that you have to worry about health wise when it comes to age, right?
Right.
But at the same time, that can't be the only thing you think about, because life has a way of just you're like, okay, so you thought it was going to be this way.
Right.
How about, how about
your path
this?
changes.
Your
And-
path constantly changes.
And I think that's kind of where our podcast is. You're 50 now. What are you doing differently that you thought prior to 50 that you were going to do? What life changes have you come through that have kind of sculpted where you are today? You said it right. We talked to different people on different paths, just like you said, people who thought they were going to be in a certain place at a certain age, and that just hasn't become what it is. Not as a negative,
No.
because now that people have went to school, have started different careers, they found out that's not what they wanted to do. And
Yeah.
it's okay. You got to put yourself first. And we will always be preaching that at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
The expectations should also, like, if you have certain expectations, you also have to keep in mind the times you're living in.
Yeah.
Like, for example, okay, now, I know this is not for everybody, but I gotta say that when we were growing up, we were told by age 18 you're an adult, right? By age 18 you're an adult, and think about moving out by age 18.
Right.
Right? However, now we're in a place in an economy where that's not always possible.
Children are staying home longer.
Children are staying home longer. Not only are children staying home longer, but those with older parents, their parents who worked and strived to get these pensions and all these other benefits, some of them are now living with their kids because
They're
that
adult
was
children.
because that
Yeah.
wasn't they're adult children, because that was not enough to sustain them
Right.
through what's going on
Right.
today.
Yeah.
It would have been great, say 20 some years ago,
Right.
maybe. But I know people who have been through, who have worked their entire
life,
lives.
yeah.
They've raised kids. They've had multiple good paying jobs.
Yep.
but because of the economy, especially now, and it's not the first time we've gone through it, but
Right.
especially now, inflation and everything, they can't afford the same stuff that they were able to afford back then.
Yeah.
Rent is
What
constantly
just
going
like
up.
you said, whatever you plan for may not be what it is today.
It's very yeah. It's
And that's why you have to every morning when you get up decide what you're going to do and what you want your life to look at. You're going to have some bumps in the road, as we all know, and that's okay. But you're also going to have to roll with those punches and figure it out. We don't want to,
yeah.
we don't want to sulk. And I'm okay with you sulking. Don't
Yeah.
sulk for a whole week.
It's very much a like I'm okay. Like I've literally let people cry on my shoulders.
Right.
I have literally let people cry and I've cried on their
Right. It
shoulders.
goes
I don't-
both ways.
it
Right.
I don't my thing is I didn't do it I didn't do it alone. One thing that's always been a constant struggle for me is asking for help.
Okay.
Right. One thing that's been a constant struggle for me is asking for help,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to like for example walking up a flight of stairs sometimes or going now I get it, like I'm not that unique, but some of the stuff that I've gone some things I've gone through you can only really understand if
Went through those things.
if you've gone through it.
Yeah.
As a result of me having issues with asking for help, that has also kind of hindered me in other ways in my life. Now I've had to really I'm in therapy,
Okay.
and we've discussed how to just
And there's
ask.
nothing wrong with
and
that.
there's nothing wrong with asking, because I'm not constantly, it's not a constant.
Right.
I don't want someone to take
Take care
care
of
of
you.
me. You know what I'm saying? If just like a relationship, if it gets to a certain point, we're taking care of each other,
I think
emotionally and all that stuff.
I
So,
think it's hard for people in general.
Yeah.
There's those people that it's easy and okay, and you know who those friends and families are. If they're in need, they're gonna pick up their phone, they're gonna call, they're gonna text. But then I'm on that same page with you, and even with your mom. Like your mom has literally drove to my door and knocked on my door and said like, well, what's going on? Or picked up the phone and said, hey, I haven't heard from you or whatever. So,
yeah.
it's okay to need help. It's okay to knock on somebody's door, to text somebody, to call somebody. And Sean talks about that constantly, how she will do that if she doesn't hear from somebody
for
a
a
while. Or
Like,
if somebody's on her mind,
Yeah.
sometimes she's picked up the phone and she called and she's, oh, wow. And such person is going through something, but they just weren't sharing because, we don't pick up the bullhorn all the time and just let any and everybody know. And
Yeah.
sometimes we try to work it out and deal with it our own selves. But it's okay to say, hey, I'm not okay at the end of the day. That's how you
Exactly.
take care of self too. We
Exactly.
tend to forget that. Self doesn't mean I'm being independent. I'm able to do any and everything by myself. Taking care of self and being your own best friend is knowing when to ask for help.
when to know it, and when to just be okay with the fact that things are not okay right now.
Yes.
It's not everything is going to be up here.
Yeah, you're gonna have those
there-
ups
there's
and those
go-
downs.
There's going to be those downs, and I've had
Yeah.
those downs even before the pandemic. I had those downs. My depression was up
Up
here.
here.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you worked it out, definitely.
I
right?
worked it out, and I'm still, I worked it out, and I'm still working on it. Most of the people that I've met,
Mm-hmm.
right, have these same doubts, these same worries, and stuff like that. But they also, but they also, since we've had these conversations, some of them are also in therapy.
Right.
Some of them also have we'll just have round table conversations,
Which is
and-
always good. You
and
got that
just talk-
circle
That's
that
it.
you
We
can
have
go
the-
to.
We have that circle, and now I understand, to a certain point, why my mom has the friends that she has.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, most of the friends that she has are people that she's grown up with.
Long lifetime
You know what I'm
friends.
saying?
Yes.
Most of my friends that I have, some of them I grew up with. Some of them happen to know my family.
Right.
Some of them happen to, some of them I met just being out and about at the mall. Next thing you know, I'm the godfather of their kid.
Right.
So it's years later. I'm
You
like
never
the-
know what you're
you
gonna
never
meet
know.
along your walk through life.
Yeah, good and bad.
Yeah.
You never know. You never
Yeah.
know. But sometimes I quote a song, and in the song it's As I walk out in the world and breathe in the pollution, I inhale the problem, exhale solutions.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do that
Every day.
every day.
Every day.
You know?
Kyle, this was awesome talking with you. And we kind of sidetracked and we didn't do our normal reading of the of our affirmation
Affirmations.
today. But I brought my prayer cards, and I got these prayer cards, I believe, when I did your mom's empowerment. And I'm just pulling out the first card, honestly, just pulling out the first card. And it says, "Behold, you are beautiful." It hits our subject, and,
Yeah.
and people will think, oh, that was a setup. Honestly, it wasn't.
No.
I've just opened up this pack. I haven't even taken any of these cards out. And the first card says, "Behold, you are beautiful." So to kind of wrap up our session, I just want to thank Kyle coming from behind the scenes, having this conversation with
Yeah.
me.
Thank you for asking.
I think it was very informative. I think it was something that we just need. We just have casual conversation on Tea and Cornbread, your 50 Now What with Sean and Tracy. Definitely. We are open. Again, thank you for joining. We want you to look at us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram.
Yep.
Follow us, like, subscribe. Any suggestions, comments, things that you like that we're doing, things that you want to see in the future. Let us know what's going on around town, outside of town, that we could bring to the community that we're talking to. But at the end of the day, we say thank you and hope you enjoyed our show. Have a good day.